Live from the underground, interviews, reviews, real talk, hip hop news, hip hop comedy, and hodgepodge of hip hoppery.
Hello, and welcome back to a Word from Wize-Bus Stories, Flowers in the Street. This is episode 24. I call this one Figure Eight. So it took me a couple months to, I just settle in. Y'all know how I am. I'll tell a story when something I remember pops up. So it's been a while. But this story, I woke up early this morning, and I thought of this story. And I said, let me tell this one so I won't lose it. I'm getting older, so... Anyway, I call this one Figure Eight. And the reason I call this Figure Eight is because one of my favorite customers on line 72 going through Felony Flats was a lady I call Figure Eight. The reason I call her Figure Eight is because she was a personal fitness trainer. And every time she got on my bus, she would stand in the very front of the bus and hold the bar right next to me, right behind the yellow line, and she would talk to me. And we clicked. We talked so much that sometimes me and Figure Eight would ride all the way she'd go all the way to the end of the line with me. I'd stand there and talk, have a smoke break, and then she'd ride back and be the work late, And she was I'm 5'9", so she was a little taller than me. She was like 5'10", 5'11". She had blonde hair and these beautiful blue eyes. I mean, she had these blue eyes that were like popping blue, right? And I can close my eyes to this day and still see Figure Eight. And I never knew what her real name was. I want to say it was Kelsey or something. But I just called her Figure Eight because, y'all, seriously, she was shaped just like a classic Figure Eight. She had big breasts and she had a real tiny waistline, and then she had hips that curved out. She was a classic Figure Eight. And there was this little cartoon that used to be on public TV. I think it was like Sesame Street. And they had this little girl skating to teach you about the number 8. And the song went, Figure Eight. And she remembered it. So every time me and her, we was cool like that. So every time she get on the bus, I would say, Figure Eight. And she would laugh. I'd be like, what's up, Figure Eight? She'd be like, what's up, Angie? So anyways, we were talking as usual, me and Figure Eight, and this huge brother. I mean, this brother was big, all right? He was big and tall. And he gets on the bus, and when I say he was big, I mean, he was like linebacker big. I mean, he was huge, all right? And his underarms. It's hot in here, y'all. It's summertime here. It was like 100 degrees, but his underarms they was talking, y'all. His underarms were so smelly. They were so strong that my eyes instantly filled up with tears and I had to open up my window. I was so glad he walked to the very, very, very back of the bus and sat down because I didn't want to smell him. He was that bad, all right? So anyway, he got to the back of the bus, and every once in a while I look in my mirror and I see him. He's back there, and so me and her, we just kept talking and stuff. And then the smell, it got like real, real strong. I look in the mirror, he ain't in the back of the bus no more, right? I look to my right, and now he's sitting in the first seat on the bus that's right behind where she's standing. And when I looked at him, and every time I looked at him, he was literally just looking at her butt and just drooling. He was like this. He was like, with lust in his eyes. I can't mimic it, but he was like, he had lust in his eyes. And I know she felt it, and damn sure smelt it, because every once in a while she would look back, and then she would make eye contact with me and roll her eyes, and do something like this and roll her eyes. So anyway, he rides back there, and what's a trip about it is that he kept making these weird guttural sounds. It was kind of like a cross between a moan and a groan. Every once in a while he'd go, I don't know if I can mimic it, y'all. He would go, I can't. He was like, and it was weird. Of course, everything is weird in Felony Flats on line 72. And in case you don't know why they call that part of Portland Felony Flats, Some of y'all know from my old stories, but it's because more felonies happen in that section of the city than anywhere else in Portland, anywhere else in the state of Oregon. It's Felony Flats. So it's not unusual for it to be crazy stuff in Felony Flats, but he will always stand out to me. Those sounds, I wish I could do it. It was like, I can't even do it. So anyway, I look back, he rings the bell. He gets ready to ring the bell. Right when I look, he rings the bell. And then he stands up, and I looked at him in the mirror. I looked, and something said, look. I always follow that little something. Something said, look. He got right up on her, and when he was right behind her, he reached out, and he literally grabbed and yanked at her ass. He pulled a big, like he was trying to pull a chunk off her ass. He just grabbed it. And she said, oh, oh! And then she said, what the? And I can't say the F word, but she said, what the? All right? And then she turned around and she did something with her fist. She did some kind of little thing and she hit him in the throat. And he went down. I'll never forget. It was like, boom. He hit the floor. And he landed on his knees and he was coughing. He was gagging like he couldn't breathe. And then she still was standing up in front of him, right? And then he grabbed her. He just opened his arms real wide and he grabbed her and pulled her to him rather, like a bear hug, I guess you call it. And then he stood up. And I'll never forget it. She looked like a little rag doll. He swung her violently left, right, swinging her. And I can still close my eyes and see her legs dangling left and right and left and right. And he swung and swung and swung and swung. And then he gets slower and slower and slower and slower. And then it looked like he just stopped and just crumbled to the floor. When he crumbled to the floor, I looked and I saw blood all over his shirt. And she was standing up, by the way, at this time when he was on the floor. And I saw blood all over his shirt. And she had like this little knife. I mean, it was tiny. She had this little knife in her hand, y'all. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. She turned around and looked at me with the knife in her hand, and her eyes were flooded with tears, but they weren't rolling down her face or nothing. They just was flooded with tears. And she said, I almost could barely hear her. She said, please let me out. Please let me out. Let me out, okay? Please let me out. And so I opened up the door, and I let her out, and I never saw Figure Eight again. I looked for her for months, but I never saw her again. And so, yeah, that was my bus story, Figure Eight. Thank you for watching Word from Wize-Bus Stories, Flowers from the Street. And I got a whole lot more flowers in the street that I can tell you about. And I will tell a new story again. See you on the next one. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you was digging the story, all right? And I'll see y'all on the next one. Thank you for watching my bus stories. And thank you for rocking with me. Y'all, I got the best subscribers in the world. Sometimes y'all wait 2 or 3 months for a story or a song, or you don't know if I'm going to be telling jokes or if I'm going to do a poem or it's going to be a beat. But I've been doing bus stories. And so, yeah, I just want to let y'all know, to this day, I still can see that incident. It's one of those ones I'll never forget. All right, see y'all on the next one, and thanks for watching.